Hello, welcome back. Christina Ray here, and this week I am going to share with you how I went about making this art journal spread. It was a lot of fun. Once again, it was one of those that I wasn't exactly sure it was going the direction I wanted it to, but in the end, I really liked the way it turned out. I'd absolutely love it if you joined me on this journey to another beautiful art journal spread. Let's get started. So the first thing I did is started sorting through some scrapbook papers. I'm focusing on grabbing some that I think might work with the color palette that I'm going with this week. And then I pulled out my napkins and started digging through that stash when I came across this napkin set. And surprisingly, I think it would go quite well with this color scheme, but who buys rooster napkins? So I don't know where these came from. Who put these in here? I recently got these color cubes by Sarah Renee Clark, and they're wonderful. There are about 250 of these color palette cards, and each one gives you a new color palette that you can use to inspire you on your project. And so I'm hoping to do a series of these. I really would like to get started with these because I do often struggle selecting a good color palette, and so this is a great alternative for that. I grabbed a few of my craft paints, and I don't know that they're exactly the same colors, but they're close enough. This is Carousel Pink, Cadmium Orange. I also grabbed a Tomato Red. This is Banana Cream, Starlight Gold, then Forest Green. And then I've also grabbed the white and black so that I can change the values of the colors if I see fit. So this is at least what I'm going to start out with. So I'll just set those aside. And then I also selected a couple of napkins that I thought would be good. This one has flowers. I'm not really sure it's the right color, but you know, we'll see if I want to stick some flowers on. But I really liked this napkin. I just think this really goes well with this. It brings out a few of those colors, and I think that's what I'm going to start with in the background. And then I also selected a few scrapbook pages that I felt like they lended themselves to go with this color palette. At least, you know, I'm not stressing on being exactly the same color. I just wanted to get close and to bring some of these colors out. I really want to try to challenge myself to be completely not planning this, just going with this color palette and trying to get creative. Okay. I also grabbed some magazines. I use these a lot of times. I'll make these little silhouettes and use those in my journal pages. It's not about the colors, it's more about that silhouette. And I'm just trying to decide which one I think I would like to use, and I really like this one. So I think I'm just going to start putting some colors down for the background. I use this brayer to, really what it does is it helps me avoid trying to be in control. If I'm in control of how this goes, then it's a lot less intuitive, obviously. So I get the roller out. Oh, here, the red and the orange, really, neither one of them was the right color. So I think what I'm gonna do here is mix them. So I'm gonna put them kind of just close together, and maybe they'll just mix as I roll this out. I don't know, it's about experimenting. Let's see what happens. And oh, that's not exactly what I was expecting, but that's okay. We're going to keep going with it. That's kind of how I roll. I just, you know, even if it starts off a little awkward, which mine almost always start off a little awkward, that's okay because I think it just challenges me to work with the mistakes or the things that didn't go as planned and just go with it, and probably really helps me to become a better artist if I'm trying to work with something that just doesn't seem like it's working well. So adding a little bit of the banana cream here. I think it needs to brighten up a bit. I tend to get things a little bit too dark here, so I'm focusing on trying to get a little bit brighter. Of course, this has knocked back almost all of the color behind it, so I might get a wet wipe. My favorites from Costco, and then just maybe wipe a little bit of, ooh, no, that's blending the colors too much. I don't want to do that. Okay, so let's just bring a little bit of that orange back to the front. That's good. The brayer doesn't work too well in the center of this journal, which, by the way, this is an art journal by Ranger, the Dilutions, and it's got the multicolored sheets in it, the black and craft and white. And so I've not used one of these before, so I'm kind of eager about that too. So I just keep working with my colors, trying to get this, covered, and just get a little variety of all these different colors in here. This is a little bit, to me, like, being in kindergarten and just slapping paints down and getting my fingers in it, and I just really enjoy this, and it helps to loosen me up and gets me feeling like I am at least starting something. This process is good for my brain and my soul. So I have pasted down this magazine image onto a piece of cardstock, and then I just cut it out. And it doesn't have to be exact, but get it cut out, gives it a bit of sturdiness, and then there's your silhouette. These thin layers of napkin will obviously show up best if it has a solid color behind it, and they definitely show up better if that solid color behind it is lighter. So some of these areas you may see where there's a little bit darker, it's just not going to show up as well. The advantage I have with this is that I do have some darker leaves on here, so it might help cause those to be a bit darker. And again, I think this is really just about texture for me, not so much the focal point, because most of this will probably get pushed back by the time I'm done, and you may not even really see much of it at all. Why add all of these layers if I'm not going to see it? I often ask myself that very same question, but it gives your piece depth, and you're always surprised in the end what you come up with and where your eyes travel throughout your piece, and things will be highlighted that you didn't intend, and it just really, to me, it brings out so many hidden treats. We all do it, and I think for me that's part of the intuitiveness of this. It's not planned. I'm just playing with different supplies, getting these parts and pieces down, and hoping that in the end result is something that's fun to look back at. And if you're having fun while you're making it too, therein lies the beauty of mixed media art. So now I'm going to start putting these pieces of scrap, and I'm going with a gel matte medium that is better for a little bit thicker cardstocks, which some of these are a little bit thicker, and just randomly going to start putting these pieces down. You know, I've mentioned before that I did not study art, but there is something about composition. Odd numbers seem to be the magic number, and so I will almost always stick to that rule to keep the balance. At this point, I don't really have much more of a plan, other than I believe my silhouette is going to reside on the right-hand side of this spread. And then I often go through this same process with a lot of my pages, and I try to have variety, but you know, the tried and tested, if it works, why change it? And so I almost always come back in with a little bit of gesso, just try to bring these pieces together, maybe push some of them back. So I randomly will start getting some gesso on here. And it also will give a little bit more cohesiveness to the scrapbook pages. They will blend in a little bit better with your overall piece of art if you give them a little bit of layer of gesso, and then you can wipe it off of any pieces that you want to stand out. Like these green, I feel like I want those to stand forward a little bit more than the rest of it. So I have my textured paste, my homemade recipe, and going to start another layer. Again, I stick with the white, and I am putting these just randomly, trying to keep them somewhat in the same location as some of the other texture that I have on the page. But you know, if I feel like I want to stick this somewhere else, by golly, I will, because it's my art journal, and this is about experimenting, playing. This is where you see what works and what doesn't work. So if I think I might not be done, I'm going to go ahead and just add a little bit more up in here. You know, you're always free to change your mind. If you put something on, you don't like it, scrape it off, wipe it off, it's okay. You know, my philosophy is you can't make a mistake that is irreparable. So just keep pushing forward. I always say that. So then I have grabbed some of my Lindy's art sprays, and I've got different colors here. I don't know that there's a whole lot of difference in the end, but these do add a little bit of a shimmer that you'll see, even if you end up not being able to see the color itself. But kind of just having fun and playing with these. If they aren't running the direction you want, get you a little paintbrush, wet it down, and just manipulate it a bit. You know, I like the randomness, and I really do try to let things happen the way they happen. But sometimes they don't happen the way you think it should have, and so you can help it along. And I love the way these work their way down into the crevices of the texture paste. And I just love watching that happen. So I think I decided I'm going to put some of these rose elements on here. And so I'm peeling off the top layer. There's typically 3 layers of napkin, and you really only want the top layer. So with these roses, I want them to really stand out so I can see those images. I'm going to put some gesso behind them. And then once that gesso dries, I will apply them with a layer of fluid matte medium. Here I am using my Stabilo-All pencil, which is a water-based pencil, and it writes on all surfaces, and it's water soluble, so you can activate it with a wet brush. You have to remember, if the napkin is not 100% dry, it is still fragile. So be careful. And again, you know, mistakes are great. They're happy little surprises. There for a second, I thought I sounded like Bob Ross, but you know, just keep going. Don't stress. The whole thing isn't ruined, and just keep pushing forward. I've added a little bit of black to this green. I want to get it just a little bit darker, and you know, if I put that along one side, it kind of almost just gives this piece a bit of a shadow, which I felt like they needed. They were a little too flat. Taking a credit card and scratching into those colors, and I think because that pink is so bright, I need to be very careful with it, because I'm getting close enough to feel like I could do some pretty serious damage with that color. So I'm dipping the edge of the card in the pink and the orange, and running that edge of the card across the paint. And I really like the way that is giving this a pop of color just a little bit. So then I get my silhouette down. I've decided where she's going to live. And then I start putting some Archival ink around the outside, and I just remembered that I have a better blending sponge. I can't remember where I got these, but oh my gosh, just so much better. I really can get a lot more solid line, smoother around the edge, and it just goes on so wonderful with these. So I'm pulling out this silhouette stencil that I have, and I'm going to put a smaller silhouette, and I'm mixing some black and green together, and she's going to be much darker further back in the background, so I'm putting her in a darker shadow. And then I'm going to do the same thing with a little bit larger image, and I'm going to make that a dark gray. She will appear as though she is closer to the forefront, but yet still in the background and in the shadows. And then I decided to rub a little bit away on the inside of her dress, just because she is a little bit bigger. I really didn't want her to steal the show. So I think it turned out all right. I like it. And then once I have those done, I go back and grab my credit card and the pink and orange and red colors and start scratching a little bit more lines in this. And I really like the way that looks. It's giving a pop of color, bringing it to the forefront, not overpowering this piece of art with the bright colors, but really brightens it up. And then I'm putting just a few swipes of the green, same way with the credit card, and just trying to bring everything together so that the piece seems to really go together, and bringing all of those elements and colors and making this one fluid image. And I'm really happy with the way that is turned out. So I just cut off the rough edges, and then I'm going around the outside edge of this entire thing with the Archival black. And I just decided at the last minute I wanted to add a little bit more texture, and so I've got a rubber stamp here that I'm putting in some acrylic paint. I'm going to start working on my sentiment, which is the practice of art isn't about making a living, it's about making your soul dance. I initially tried to just write it in cursive on the background, and it just didn't show up enough. So I went ahead and wrote it out on a piece of cardstock. Whoops. And then that way I can paste that down, just cover up that mistake on the back there. So that seems to be working out. And I'm applying these with the gel matte medium. And I'm going to put a few watered down splatters on here. What is it about the splatters that makes a piece of art feel complete? All the cool people do it. And then I also have this fine liner paint bottle here, a little bit of watered down black that I'm just scratching around the outer edges of each of these pieces of cardstock just to, you know, make them appear as though they belong and they are part of this. And then now I'm going to, with that same paint pen, sketch in my chop here. It makes this mine, and there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure and press the like button. And if you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. We'll see you soon.